Evening, Nottingham. Welcome to our first November meeting, November 1st. Let's start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America.
Just add.
Hands, one nation.
Thank you. Just want to take a brief moment and recognize two individuals who have been very active in our community, Chris and Gail Mills. I'm not going to go into details as to what had happened, but we wish him a very speedy recovery. We offer our condolences to Gail. I'd like to take a moment of silence for Gail. She's a very active person within our community, has served on many. She should be recognized for that. So if we could just have a moment of silence for Gail. Thank you. All right, so manifests, they had an opportunity to look those over, pay payroll. Questions, comments? John?
Make a motion, we approve the accounts payable manifest of 11/1/2021 and the payroll manifest of 11/2/2000.
I'll second that.
Now we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Yes. Approved minutes from October 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 18th, 2021 as written.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
We had, I don't see it on here, but we also had non-public notes minutes from, the 18th, yeah.
Okay. Chance to look those over? You're good with them?
I'll make a motion that we approve the non-public minutes of, October 18th, 2021.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay. Sign boards and committees.
Tyler, no, Tony's budget, right?
Yeah.
Tyler's budget.
Tyler's, yeah. And we go here, do we? They've had a meeting since our last one.
Well, budget is also, they had one resignation on their board, and they actually have, possible 2 or 3 candidates, because I talked to, Michelle King today, asked if she needs any help finding people, and she said that she had 2 or 3 candidates that were going to fill the position that was just vacated, so,
Okay.
so good for them.
Kudos, they got that under good hand. All right. Planning board?
I was unable to meet at the last meeting for the previous engagement I had, but it was, I read the minutes and stuff, nothing too exciting. The next meeting will be very exciting. There's 2 new subdivisions, that are being proposed. So we'll definitely have something to tell you about after that next meeting. They're conceptual reviews that we're gonna be doing on 2 possible new subdivisions, so they're not set in stone, they're conceptual reviews,
Okay.
but they are 2 new subdivisions.
Tony's not here for CIP, but do you have anything?
CIP met after the last meeting, kind of went through prior stuff, departments, and various officials are submitting their individual project and purchase sheets this week, and we'll meet again. I don't, Tom said that date, but it'll probably be before.
I wasn't here when CIP was discussed, but I know I have mentioned it to some board members that I'd like to see a new police station on that CIP plan. In addition, put a,
You talked about that, somebody mentioned that at the last
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you mentioned it, but I mean, what's the process for this board for putting something on the CIP?
I would wait and see what the departments come up with first, and then if
Okay.
you wanna add or modify that, that's, see what you get first, and then,
Okay.
Okay,
you'll see the whole thing before it's covered, so.
Okay.
but it has to be a vote of the board and to agree to put something on the CIP?
Well, that's kinda squishy. The law allows for, a committee to develop the CIP. In Nottingham, the committee is appointed by the select board.
Yeah.
Technically, which is an outlier, that's not typical. Formal communication, probably get to where you want.
Okay,
And Tyler's not here for 300, but Steve?
oh, well, let me,
sorry.
I can say one thing about it, so, last week or the week before, Chris and I met with, that, went through line by line by line, put it in a spreadsheet. Revenue, pretty good look at where we are right now with that, so what I was most interested in was develop that so that they have a planning tool, so that they can understand what they can spend money on and what they can't really spend money on.
Okay.
So, we have that in place. Joe wanted to meet again on Friday. I was out of town. He hasn't left before.
Doesn't look good. Good?
If they get all of the projected revenue, then yes, it looks good.
Excellent. You got it. And Jimmy Marston.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Kukuchis continues to work hard to, do the right thing in terms of how we're spending the available dollars and trying to get the best prices. Prices have increased on everything, as you can imagine. You've probably talked to him more recently than I have.
We are waiting for, the big cement structure that goes
Pad,
around.
yeah.
Forget the name of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the cement structure goes to the ground, waiting for that to be delivered. Our highway department's gonna dig the hole. What's it called? Adam's here. He's not here. Anyway, that's been ordered, and I think that arrival is imminent, and the shed that holds the well pump has also been ordered. Finalize the plumbing. So
Great,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
the irrigation install is gonna wait until spring. Right, that's what-
Yeah, I think so, yep. Matt's doing a really good job trying to balance, what we can do in the fall and what we can do in the spring in terms of, available budget and how the price has increased.
Yeah.
And, things that can be done this fall that would be more intrusive in the spring, right, versus what can we delay, so Matt's doing a really, really good job of it.
So if you had to put a number, how much of an increase you think we've seen from your original thought of what that would be as far as irrigation?
Well, it had, oh God, it's the back fences and that stuff, right, that we've seen the
Yeah,
biggest increases.
We've, this is Matt's work,
Yeah.
obviously, we've kind of given up on the side fences, just get the backstop fence, so we can play safety
Yeah.
starters.
Yeah.
Costs are, shrink the fence, because the costs are going up, and
It went up something ridiculous, like 30% or something like that,
Okay.
and our vendors that we're working with, Gary Cowan and somebody else, they've been helping us out, get the materials now, they're gonna sit on materials for us in some cases, so we
Yep.
can get stuff while it's
Exactly.
affordable, and
Yeah.
so, with that help, we're still on track, for playing next spring, I think.
Yep, yep,
But it's not the original dream, it's less than that.
yeah, it's been a lot of work, but,
How has donations been? You still getting,
They're doing very well. We've got sponsorships. I just, got a report from the NYA late last week that I haven't had a chance to look at, but, and we're getting ready to do another big push on, social media, so.
numbers are looking good then?
Yeah, I mean, this
yeah.
is a very, frugal committee. They're not spending more than they know they have, and they're not asking for lots more, so,
Great,
yep.
okay. Town administrator report?
All right, the request for proposals for the kitchen in this building is up, posted on the town website and for a few other places. There's still time before the deadline, plenty of time to look it over, ask questions. Dale Sylvia, the building inspector's right on point on that.
Okay.
We have the budget committee's calendar now, so we're really jumping into budget mode. Department heads are finishing their first drafts up this week. Your next meeting, you'll see the first draft, which is pretty much a compilation of all their requests. I don't tinker with it yet, I show you the whole, this is everything.
Yep.
And then that, also goes to the budget committee in November, that's, third week of November, something like that, for that first draft. You'll deal with the default budget later tonight.
Yep.
CIP, it looks like we'll be in kind of chasing that process or, running alongside it. We've been working behind the scenes on the E911 readdressing, renumbering project that we've had kind of chipping away at. Current thinking is, in order to do it, the board, this is something that's under the board of selectmen's control when it comes to naming and numbering streets and things like that. Before you change anything, you've got to hold a public hearing.
Yep.
Those tend to be big affairs, as other towns have learned that, you take people's addresses that
Yep.
they want to talk to you about it.
Yep.
Yep.
Understandable. So looking at the calendar and our staffing and when we have people here to do the behind the scenes stuff and when it fits into everything else going on in town, that our current thinking is that we would hold that public hearing just after town meeting sometime in March. Use the town meeting season to kind of educate and publicize, a little bit anyway.
Yep.
Do the public hearing, have you, the board, if you wanna move forward with it, you've gotta make a decision, you gotta green light it and say go, and then, that starts a clock of 60 to 90 days or so before a D-Day or a take effect date, which would put us, in early June for that probably, so we're thinking, get that done before school ends, when people are still kind of plugged in.
Yep.
Earlier, should have started with this, we're gonna do it in halves, more or less. We're gonna do the north side of town first, 2 waves, perhaps even over 2 years. North side of town being pretty much north of this road,
Yep.
Okay.
north and east of here. There's, on that side of town, it's about half of the addresses, maybe a little less. There's less road name changes to do. We look over the horizon, we can see where the state's gonna recommend name changes to roads, and a lot of that, is gonna impact the southern side of town, so.
Yep.
Get that first half done in 2022, and see how it goes. Do we, if it goes well, we could conceivably do the second half after the summer and the fall, or do it the following spring. You don't have to make that decision right away. If you have thoughts on that kind of calendar, what works for, to go through that,
No, I think that's a very fair, do half this year, half next year, next session. But I do have a question in regards to, do we solicit names from the community, or we just come up with names for those roads that need to have a name change?
For those that, what we're hearing from the state has gone through this a bunch of times.
Sure,
we're
yeah.
really, following their lead. You wanna give the people that live on the road an opportunity to impact that
Sure,
process somehow.
sure, okay.
You can start with a proposed name.
Okay.
That you could come up, in the zoning ordinance, you have a list of pre-approved names already. So if somebody was to build a road and wanted to name it, there's a list they can pick from.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a starting point. But the idea, is that you would use that 60 to 90 days to do a process like that. Probably in small groups, or, you wanna give a group, a neighborhood or a street a chance to get together and see if they come up with something on their own that's acceptable to you. You can do that over the course of a couple of months.
Okay.
You would be the final authority on it, but, there's big battles over it.
Right,
Right.
right, exactly.
So, for the purposes, for those folks who are at home or not familiar with it, it's basically just to make it easier for first responders, emergency personnel to locate.
Yes,
Uh-huh,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
There is a standard method for doing these things that people are intuitively familiar with from driving around most of the country. There are odds on one side, evens on the other. The numbers go from low to high and away from the post office or away from the center of town. It's not exactly how the 911 works, but it's that general concept. And numbers are, the increments are based on distances along the road, not the lots, but the number of feet. It leaves room for future development, so,
Yep.
But-
if you cut a new driveway in somewhere, there's a natural number waiting for it, where
Okay.
right now, you can drive, a quarter mile and go from number 3 to number 5.
Right.
Right, cause there's only 2 lots there, and that's the way they numbered a lot of
Okay.
places.
So you're gonna base it off a road frontage, that what would have been a lot kind of thing, but,
Yeah, it's a distance-based system rather
Kinda
than
like the
a-
main turnpike now.
yeah.
Right, like the exit numbers.
Yeah.
that
Yeah, yeah.
rejiggered
Yeah,
to
yeah.
line up with the
Yeah.
mile markers.
Yeah.
Same thinking.
Okay.
You have an idea of how far it is to, okay, I've been driving for a quarter mile and I'm at number 60. If I'm trying to get to 240, I know I've got,
The ways.
3/4 of a mile to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people think that way, some people don't.
Okay.
And there's a whole, the way to do cul-de-sacs and the way that, and if you align everything well, then any of the first responders can find things, even those coming from other towns.
That's what I was gonna say.
Can find things much easier, where, the 8 different people that drive our fire trucks know all the cute little tricks, and they know,
Yeah.
oh, that's such and such's house,
Right.
right?
Yep, yep,
Raymond Fire doesn't know that.
correct.
So
Yep,
that's one of the big,
yep,
one of the big things you pick up. And there's a whole updating process that goes with that, where, the next natural question for people is, well, how does Amazon figure all this out and all that stuff? Because there's a huge impact on people there. So there's a state, they notify all these folks, probably be a little choppy in the interim, but,
to
it
be
makes
honest,
it
that's
open.
always choppy, cause they change drivers so often,
Right, yeah.
yeah. Ben, I also think it's worthwhile to point out, that this is something that the voters voted in favor of during the March election. So it is something that the folks in town want to have happen.
Thanks for the reminder, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that, thank you.
Yeah, so, there'll be plenty more education about it, and, the state's already done this, they know, they've got everything ready for us.
Good.
It's just timing, and for us, we've got a part-time employee that's gonna run the point on for us and be the primary point of contact, and, we have a lot of shuffling to do behind the scenes. Our databases are all gonna change, all those things, so,
Good work.
we think that kind of calendar should work for both, inside and outside. Still subject to change, but that's what we're headed toward, if you're comfortable with that kind of
Yep.
calendar.
Yep,
And then lastly, we are waiting to hear from DRA on a tax rate. As far as we know, as far as we can see, everything's in, all the town materials in, all the school district materials are in. Just waiting for DRA to renew it and engage us in that conversation that we have every year around the tax rate. So, I'm hoping that is done before you meet again, so I need to kind of get a sense of whether you're all gonna be around, if we need to
Yep.
gather, to knock out a tax rate. We usually have a few days' notice, so I'll let you know.
Yep.
Haven't I seen anything that would obstruct that process yet. We should be going. Right, we want to move forward, so. That, I think, is everything I have for you.
Okay. Action item reviews from last meeting? Did we have anything? Says here we didn't have any on the 18th. Donna, do you remember?
There are some non-public things that are carrying over. And then the other outstanding thing is what are the next steps for the road standards?
Okay.
And where we stand with that.
Gotta wait for a 5-member board on that, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I think, were you and Tony or somebody working on recommended edits?
I made recommended edits. I forgot to send them over to you from what the old road standards issue was. And stuff I thought should be taken out. That's all I did for recommendations.
Okay, so I think
I'll send it over to you.
we should at
I'll send it
least,
over to everybody.
yeah, that'd be great. I think we should at least get it on the agenda somewhere.
I won't be here on the 13th.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Oh, well, it's 2 weeks from now. I was just thinking, isn't that the 14th, whatever day it is? Yeah, I won't be here that day.
okay.
Okay, so you'll give us that information so that we can at least move forward with it, even though you won't be here?
Well, I think, we could schedule it for the 29th if that's the next, 15th to 29th. But,
All right.
so do you have that, Chris, that we're gonna schedule that for that night? Thank you.
Okay. That was pretty much it. All right, assessing. Everybody had an opportunity to review the,
Was the one that needed the bond, taken care of, the money?
Yeah, we don't have confirmation from the bank, but we'll hold the paperwork until we get that. I'm expecting it tomorrow.
So that we can still approve it for tonight, though?
Yeah, and we'll sit on it until we have 100% certainty. We're not nervous about that, it's just a technicality.
I make a motion, I make a motion that we approve, the report to cut for map 13, lot 3, and the intent to cut for map 23, lot 2.
Second,
a motion and a second, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. General business? Default budget, everybody had an opportunity to review that?
yeah,
I thought that was,
I mean,
This is the budget that we're just basically, the default budget, what we're setting in front of the budget committee.
Yes, this number will appear on the warrant itself. You give it to the budget committee, and then it goes to the warrant.
Yep.
so basically the only difference between this year's budget and what the default would be is the difference in the, debt service interest.
Yeah, the big broad categories are contracted, differences, towns with labor agreements have,
Yep.
those get locked in.
Yep,
One-time purchases, which we pretty much do with separate warrant articles, we don't really do,
yep,
you define what that is, but that's pretty much our MO. And then changes in debt service. Our loans are all decreasing, constant principal decreasing interest arrangements, so our bond payments drop a little bit every year.
yep.
So we have to kind of reflect that in the default budget.
okay.
We only have two debt issues remaining.
That's a good thing.
Nothing else with the default budget? Okay. Nothing else for general business?
Nope.
Okay.
No, if you could just vote to approve approve that number.
Yep.
we can, 100%.
You want me to, I'll make a motion to approve the default budget for the $4,215,081.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Unanimous? All right. That brings us to just shy of 7 o'clock for our first appointment, Nottingham School Board. All members present? We're missing one?
Do you wanna tap dance or know any good songs to
Yeah.
Kind of our leader on this issue.
carry us over?
Yeah, maybe it's.
Oh, so, okay. I don't know why I got this Jeopardy theme song in my head right now while we're waiting.
Oh, stop it. Thank you. Thank you. How's the rec department doing?
How was the thing yesterday? Yesterday or Saturday?
What's that?
You have
Come
yes,
here Saturday?
no, was it, it was rain, I stayed home, so.
Okay, I participated in the Spooky Walk, and they did a terrific job. Over 200 people attended,
Wow.
and they modified it because of the rain. So they
Yeah.
held a Spooky Walk down this corridor here. And a lot of kids had a lot of fun.
Good deal.
That's awesome, that's good.
Yeah, they had a whole, well, if you walk down the hall, you see everything that's usually there is gone, because it was all
Right.
spookified Friday afternoon. There's some pumpkins out here, if you can get enough pumpkin in your house, we have surplus, we're trying to give them away right before they aren't pumpkins anymore. So take one with you, goes for you too.
Our,
Take two.
we've got the most amazing rec department.
Yeah, they've done a nice job.
Yeah.
They had a whole outdoor thing, we talked about it last time, with the pumpkins, the floating pumpkins and all that.
Yeah.
Turns out their pumpkin supplier gave them pumpkins that were too big, so they kinda got lucky with the,
Oh,
in one sense,
They would have not
the
floated.
the big pumpkins weren't gonna float on the things, they were
Ah.
expecting the little cutesy ones, and they got the pint sized ones. So,
oh,
It was nice to see all the parents and their kids up.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
it's nice that,
Take plenty of pictures, Steve?
What?
Did you take plenty of pictures?
No, I was actually running one of the booths where you had that pumpkin heads.
I mean, look how scary he is.
Yeah.
Actually,
I didn't know you were gonna go there.
He says scary walk all over it.
Okay.
You weren't telling bad jokes, right? Cause that's very scary.
Okay, as I told you 25 times, there's no such thing as a bad joke, there's a bad audience.
Dun,
School
dun,
board's here.
boom. Okay, all members of the school board are here now?
All that row be there.
Okay. Feel free to bring chairs up. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Do you wanna have him sign in?
pretty sure Lorraine knows who they are.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So we just wanted to check in with you. We're beginning our budget process, and one of the things that is gonna be important to us is kind of where we land, with the SAU building. So, we had gone and looked at, I think, 3 options. And I know we have a contractor taking a look and having an idea of that. We had our construction manager take a look, and he felt that, for their purposes, that across the street from the library wouldn't be, big enough for them to do. And he didn't really give us a quick back of the napkin number on that. He took a quick look at this room. His one question was, hey, is that a load-bearing wall near the closet? So that was that. And then he walked the back. And I know that that's something that hasn't really been on the agenda at all, but he did say that's something that, the scope of which they could probably take on, and it would be similar to some of the other things we're considering. So that's kind of where we are. We were just thinking that we should get with you guys and kind of get your thoughts, see what your preferences are, what the, kind of like, you know, if we can do some framework and understand that, and then get the details as they develop. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I guess we should, add that we are doing an RFP for modular, either a temporary or semi-permanent as an alternative to a building addition, and that could potentially include office space. So in my view, one of the things we can look at is a temporary solution as opposed to a permanent solution, which for us, I think the community room could be a temporary solution, not a permanent.
What's the square footage you need?
We need, well, no, for the
For the
SAU.
office space.
Okay.
So we need a superintendent's office, a business administrator's office, conference room, and room for some administrative staff. That would be that. Not a lot.
What is that, 1,500 square feet?
I think it could be smaller than that, to be honest. You figure, one office would be what, 150, 200 square feet or so, so. I mean, the space here, I think, is around 900, so that would do it. I think the space that we looked at over in the other building, that back area, could probably be made to work.
Okay.
That's obviously a much bigger endeavor.
So what kind of what's your decision deadline?
Well, if we have to, we got the budget constraints, you know, the same deadlines to put things into the budget, have the hearings and so forth, so.
But you also, did you say you had like 70-something from the SAU?
We have an unassigned fund balance right now, I think we're around 50,
Okay.
and that's what we had anticipated spending. So we need to talk about that, and then we can draw those funds and what the timing of that would be.
Yep.
So we're just trying to put the timeline together on everything, and then the other piece of it is, tomorrow night, we're gonna be talking to BMSI, and we've got this whole software piece, and are there any places where we can have some, you know, synergy there to look at costs. I think we're gonna talk to ADP as well, we're gonna be talking to iVision, which is the current, software piece, and trying to determine if that's just too much firepower for one district, and, you know, how much training we actually really do have on it at this point, so. It's kind of, and then we've got another software piece called Frontline, that kind of provides some HR, payroll type supports. And so those are all pieces we need to look at and figure out what's appropriate for a single district. And then the other piece that we haven't really talked about yet, but looking at the fuel costs and the sense that propane and other fuels could be increasing, you know, 40–50% this year, is there anything there, like shared contracts or whatever? That's just kind of throwing that out to you. And I don't know, again, we're gonna look at budget, Wednesday night.
Is that feasible, Chris?
Yeah, it's, yeah, you have to get to really, really large volumes to break, I think, to break through on pricing for that. We just did our annual, solicitation on pricing.
Yeah.
We just do, heating oil and propane, that's all we buy anymore. And it's been one vendor blowing the doors off the others for several years. And that didn't change this year, it's just one way ahead of the others. The county has stuck their toe in that, you know, massive buying kind of question. I don't think there's certainly no harm in it, I just think the marginal savings on
Not enough to worry, okay?
not enough to move to the top of your priority list.
Okay.
I think you have to get to where the delivery, our delivery quantities and locations are relatively small. You're sending small trucks to all of our places. You have a bigger propane,
At the school.
storage thing. You're getting a couple of deliveries a season probably out of a 18-wheeler. We're getting the home skid, you know, that the cost to them is running a little truck around all over the place. So we're probably not great buying partners for you in that regard. You need to shop with bigger customers than us, I think, to find
Okay.
true savings. We would drag you down.
No, thank you.
I don't know what else you're
got the,
and they're in the Eversource territory, so you're actually our fallback on electricity if we somehow produce too much. You're in debt, so, I don't know what else you're shopping for, but those are the big ones that people usually think of.
You had mentioned modular. I assume that that would be on the school property, would be a location where you'd be looking to put that on? Okay.
the thing for us with modular is that we don't have the base, that's the big expense really with it, where you hook up to the utilities and so forth.
Yep.
Our
Plus you
sys-
have to have the, don't you have to have the covering between the two?
Yeah, you have to do that, to make it workable.
Yeah.
There's a couple options, cause we're discussing it as well, like an addition, instead of the addition, a modular that would house offices plus classroom, so that we have a couple different things that we're looking at, with that.
So this could be multiple modulars.
The,
Well,
to
we'll
have
have to
classrooms
see.
and office
Yeah.
space, yes,
Yeah. So where would that be put?
in the same space that the addition is proposed.
Right in the back, okay.
We don't have any other spots.
There's no, there are other spaces, like the playground, but
Oh,
I don't, I don't think we're gonna have that.
No, okay. Okay. Any board members have any questions?
Well, so, I mean, if you move in here, my question is, when you getting out? And then I don't see that terrible, but, no, it's not, this,
Oh, they're not
this is,
even in
this is not meant to be a permanent home for the SAU.
It's just the way you said it, John.
I know,
It just,
well,
it sounded.
sorry I
like-
came out
it sounded
blunt
like
and
you-
honest, but that's,
It sounded like you had a son-in-law who came
know.
home, you were like, when are you getting out?
is there, I mean, I know we don't think too far, but again, what is the alternative plan down the road? I mean, you got 50,000 now to renovate this year, but then we're out of money. So then,
well,
you gotta do the whole budget thing to propose to put the additions on the back and stuff like this, and we go through that whole process again, which we just went to with an addition, except it won't be that same size, obviously, so the money shouldn't be the same, but you're gonna have to go in front of a vote for that addition.
I think what we were initially thinking with the transition committee, that this board's feeling on it was that as long as there was no additional cost to the town, that the space here would be doable. So, that's, I think, what we probably need to talk about. If we did do it here, how long would you,
Well,
be interested in allowing that?
we know the SAU is gonna grow, and our town here is growing. So we might need the services here for that, just
Right.
because everything's getting bigger, our rec's getting bigger, everything's getting bigger. We might need more office staff, we might need, things as the town grows, we need more. That's the space that we need for this
Need to be
building
able
in
to-
order not to offset the town, extra money by us having to put another addition on this building. It's, I'm just looking in the forward of the next 5 years. Are you still
I
gonna
don't
be
think we
here? Is
see
this something
the
you're gonna be here?
SAU growing, to be honest with you. I don't know. Probably visions that are here in town, to see what happens with that. Support services, administrative services, we already have a finance director in-house. We
So the 4 people that'd be working there, or 5 would always
Yeah,
be
so
that
yeah,
probably
we
for the
need
next
a
5 years.
space
You don't
for a
see any more coming on.
superintendent, yeah. We're looking at. But we've already got the majority of these administrative.
The sense I'm getting, Sue, is that the old town hall is not a viable option for you.
We don't know. I'm not sure what your position is. How you would share.
Have we, mission back on,
No, we've been waiting for their copy of the city contract. We have some
still be in favor of the SAU, that building, sole purpose of having someone there all the time, ensuring that regular upkeep is kept on that building. Basis, we will have to make a tough decision of what to do with that building. Here is, I think, a perfect opportunity to save a building if more, but also provide space for, needed space for the SAU.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we're too cramped in this building as it is, and, you know, that the rec department needs the space. I do think that the old town hall, you know, assuming we figure out exactly what the, gives you guys. So if in general, you know, the school population is growing and that, you know, brings on greater need for additional resources or whatever, we would have space there to accommodate that as well. So I think that that would be a preference as well.
If we're gonna go in, and this is my thought, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board when I say this. My thought behind the process is if we're both gonna go in and essentially renovate the building to make it so it's suitable for the SAU to go in there, I don't feel right that we should be charging money. If you're putting money forward to help save that building, if the town is helping, I don't foresee it. I wouldn't feel right charging money. Again, that's just one person, I can't speak for
I mean, I don't see that either. You know, I think we'd have to figure out how the development costs are shared, but the
Yeah.
renovation costs are shared, but, I mean, unless you think there's a reason to charge some kind of a rent, I wouldn't see
Paying us
that.
just to pay back, I don't think there's a
Yeah, that's
reason
just,
behind it.
that's
It's
just silly.
We're just
Unless
trading
you-
money.
Unless there's some benefit to the SAU and I don't know, grant chasing or whatever, it's rare that you would find a need that you wanna find more expenses, but if there was some reason
Yeah,
for you
yeah.
to need to pay for space, we could accommodate that.
Yeah.
There's no, it's the same taxpayer.
Yeah, to be taking it from this end and
Doesn't
putting it
make
in this
any
end.
Pay, well, yeah, pay, somebody has to, we have to have internet service and things that aren't.
Yeah, so
there.
we'll do that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, those
Right,
are,
but if you become a tenant, you know, a rent-free tenant and put internet in there and took over the heat and the electric, that's a win for the town. And it's a win for you because it's free space that you'd have to either buy a trailer for or rent from somebody else and all that.
yeah.
So, there's no reason
So-
to
so-
move money around, it's just that.
I mean, there's an upfront cost for renovations, but in the long run, it will end up saving money, because you won't have to lease a space.
Well, also, enhance town, because it is an absolute,
It is.
and it's heartbreaking to see the shape it's in.
Yeah.
We can bring it back,
Yep.
because the wood in there is gorgeous,
Yeah.
and
So
Or
I think this
stairs.
would be a perfect opportunity where the SAU and the town could come together to preserve such a beautiful building like that and ensure the viability of it for years to come. So, go ahead, Seth.
Speaking as a member of the Historic Society, we would love the fact that those used to do. It would be really a shame.
Yeah.
I will say, that I like to be sure that it is a joint effort and that, I will be using the space through the town property, not a school-owned property, I know it's taxpayers, but, that is a much larger project for, money-wise, for both parties to fix that over there and get that up and running.
So let me
I
pose
think-
this to you.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking outside of the box here. The amount of money that would be spent over there versus putting modulars in and whatever.
So there's still a need for classroom space over there, so that is not gonna go away
Okay.
if, there's still a need for that, for a preschool that we're gonna put, you know, so there's still a need for space at Nottingham School. So this is also, so I think that's why Sue said we are looking at, that this is a possibility, none of these things have gone there yet, so I think that we need to know what the options are and the costs and kind of what make plans for. Because it's a while, spend a lot of money on that building.
So I think, you know, to kind of move the discussion forward, I think the sentiment of the board is that we don't want to offer this as an option.
That's what I think we need.
Yeah,
So you don't put this off the table in the building, and the option, just to kind of make sure we go off that this, you've got a building over there, it has been, obviously your preference, is a beautiful building, part of the community, is to maintain it.
Preserve it,
Do that
yes.
is to have something in.
Right.
From our perspective, we had not budgeted, we still have the capacity, financial capacity to handle that renovation. We don't know what it costs yet, but clearly.
but
Well, I
we
think
could,
that's one of the first things we need to iron out is your contractors and our contractors coming up with what is needed.
and I mean, there might be some
We're not, I don't
money
think,
that we could
I
probably
don't,
contribute to it.
I don't think we're asking you to foot the whole bill to fix
No.
it.
No, God,
I
no.
think that was what I was saying, like.
You know, that's where you were coming at.
We're gonna walk
No.
in,
You know, if it was $40,000, if it was $80,000 project, I'm sure we'd pick up our 40 and you pick up your 40 and then you have unlimited years of use on that building.
Yeah, and
You could be in it for
that would be-
15, 20 years.
And we maintain it, you know,
And
it's
you
part of
maintain
our
it, yeah.
operating budget.
Because we're gonna have to put money into it anyway. So if we can put that money in and you can add some to it,
It's a
then,
win.
then it's a win-win for everybody.
Just that we don't have financial wherewithal to handle 150
Yeah.
or 100 or we
Yep.
just don't.
Yep.
So that's.
No, but anything you guys put in
Mhm.
towards that building is a benefit for this town and us saving that building.
Yeah, so we.
So,
yeah.
I mean, depending what that final outcome number comes, before we actually make a decision on that, would be to find out what that number is to see what we're contributing. But whatever you contribute is just a bonus for saving that building and having it,
There's an incremental cost. We can save the building and keep the current function of that building,
but it's,
the main room.
yeah, before I'm doing with it, this goes,
Of course, we wanna have somebody in it, but the cost to turn it into an office for them is greater than the cost. There was wrong with it.
So the L shapes and all that, the outer part of those would allow it to continue to degrade?
That can sit as it has for 20 years, if you want it to.
well, we saw what happened in the last 20 years, 20 more years, it just, we about to blow, push it over.
I'm not trying to suggest what you
Ah.
take one path or the other, I'm just saying that you can meet your goals for that building for less than it will take to move them in effect. So it's not, it'll cost more to turn that space into an office space. It's not gonna break either one of them, but it's.
But
just
it's
to be
gonna
clear.
sit, we're gonna sink money, if we don't do that, we're gonna sink money into it to have it sit there.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'd rather have it be used.
I would too.
yes, so there's a very big incentive for you to attract
Yeah.
a regular user, in that you won't be throwing good money after bad.
Correct.
Over
Yep.
and over and over again.
Okay.
Yep.
But you can survive for less than what it would take.
So,
You're pointing us that there's one less way of, I mean, it costs less if we just did it on our own and just did it minor without having them in it.
Right.
but then it's just,
So you're essentially mothballing part of it.
Yeah, or
You're
you're,
throwing
or
money
you're
at it.
bringing it to the point where it's just like a summer-only building, which you can do for a lot less money.
Right.
Right, but none of
That
it
doesn't
costs-
allow for upkeep.
No, it doesn't, I don't think that's where we wanna end up,
No.
but I'm just trying to give you all your options.
Okay.
so I think where we're at is that we need to get some real numbers against
Yes.
that, right?
Quickly.
You guys are getting your numbers against modular, right, and the cost benefit of that.
I think that for us, just to clarify that, we put on the warrant last year. We're, at this point, trying to, we're having our builder and our architect scale that back and give us a number. And then based on feedback that we've received from the community, budget committee, and so forth, we're looking at modular. So that's kind of that's a build, and we view that differently from our SAU separation. Less bureaucracy, services closer to the district. So we're trying to save $150,000 over the 680 or so that we've been paying in, plus the 185 to support a preschool. We have been told by Northwood that they don't think they can continue to house the preschool. So
many students we have over there?
It varies, I think we have, the,
No, 8 to 14 is usually the number.
Yeah, of the special education students
it's a
that
special
require
education
services.
program, I
But
think
then we
there's
have
9.
Student, children from in town that pay tuition to attend the preschool, so it's a mixed classroom.
So, all in all, how much would we really be saving if we didn't go with the addition and you went with modular? Because as we pointed out earlier, construction costs, materials have gone up 30, 40, in some cases 50%. Okay.
Looking at a prefab and then looking
And my
at.
So
point
ti-
was
time
just
is-
that
it's-
when we're looking at modular, if we look at, if we don't have an option for an SAU office, we're gonna have to look at offices.
And quite, you might end up having to go out of town because we don't have that type of
Yes.
rental office space in town.
Addressing these. Again, it's just
Yeah.
an administrative
Okay.
office,
So-
but my preference, to be honest with you, I really don't wanna tie our SAU project, it's not what we costed out for the community. They voted for cost savings, efficiency,
Right.
and a reduction in bureaucracy, and I don't wanna tie it into a build, which is I mean, the board needs to agree, I'm speaking for myself, personally, I don't wanna tie the two together.
So what you're thinking, Sue, is you guys are doing your research on the modular approach, and you're gonna put that on the ballot as opposed to an addition this year, is that where you're
We're
headed?
not sure yet. We haven't decided yet.
Once we
RFPs.
figure out what the scale back was, in kindergarten classrooms or preschool, some, space.
Classrooms.
And some renovation in the.
Yep, yep,
We get that scale back number, which we're waiting for, and then we
Yep.
compare it to prefab,
sure,
modular, and with that.
yeah, yeah.
And then we'll know.
And
So depending on whichever you put forward, if it got approved, then you might have the potential to put your SAU there, because you've got more space. She's saying yes, you're saying no.
We
I
don't
think you
really
could
have
put
space.
Well, I think if you did decide to do that, I think that we could potentially do administrative space. Maybe there's an option for
Okay. Okay, so what this board is saying is that we wanna take this off the table, the community space here, we wanna take that off the table. We'd love to see you in the other building, in the old town hall. We would work with you guys together to renovate that space to the point that it needs to be. And so that's kind of where we stand, and you guys now have to go, and we need to work towards getting numbers for that.
Right, right.
But then you guys need to go through your exercise and, figure out what the right path is for you, but our offer, or our position's on the table when you decide.
But hearing the 50 from us that we know we have right now.
That you would contribute 50?
That's what we know at this
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I think it's fine, I mean, I think, we have to get the numbers, but
I know you said you had some numbers from the.
HVAC.
plumbing and HVAC.
Yeah, we've identified. And that's exactly. But that's to get to office review.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's the carpentry or any
yeah.
other, but. Yes, it's really, really rough. Condition the space, it's not lock space that used to be lock space. Bathroom, furnace room part of the old town hall into. You would come in and say, okay, this is what we do. It's
Yep.
the neighborhood,
Yep,
you understand?
Rough
yeah,
numbers, yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're gonna have flexibility at your. Calendar year,
Got it.
But as long as we have a contract in place before the end of the year,
But that, how does that jive with what you guys, your process?
We need to have
This
that.
done in the spring.
Okay, so you'll,
And they can't wait until March decision.
No.
okay, okay. So as long as you guys, you know, I mean, that, we've basically got about 6 weeks. Right. Correct, yep, yep.
so if we were gonna move forward, we would definitely need a commitment from the SAU that they're gonna wanna,
Yeah, so we need numbers
Yeah.
first. We need better numbers.
The school district would,
Yeah.
the party that you'd be.
Yeah.
But that's what it's the 50 you're talking about, is your share.
It's our,
Minor estimate. We're talking about your
School.
fiscal year end.
You're talking
No, that's-
No, but it's always there.
Are you saying above 50?
for ours. We can use it.
There, you,
Fund balance.
This is for a
Building.
budget.
Budget purpose. Does this fit within?
I would think so. Oh, a lawyer.
You had surplus funds at year end.
right, right.
I'm just, we're gonna
Well, some of that stuff, sorry, comes from the SAU. We have to split what's
Splitting
already
property
there.
with the-
Yeah, that kind of thing, like when your grandmother dies, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, there is a current office that will be disbanded.
Yeah.
So
So you're walking around putting your name on?
Yes, underneath the seat of the chairs,
we're
you
gonna
know.
post it notes.
But
Yeah.
you could conceivably, let's say we did, you know, this is gonna be a race now. You
yes.
decide you wanna move, it's gonna be a race in 6 months.
Yeah.
They're not ready, I don't
Yeah.
know what,
So we have to figure out those.
Okay.
We also could have for
In the summer, so they probably could be.
Yeah.
the systems
basic-
are the bigger problem, so
Yeah.
we need to move over this
Data
financial
systems
system.
and-
Yep,
We're gonna pick a financial system, we'll work on that tomorrow and to figure out what that project looks like. There's a lot of details for us, really.
yep,
The current system's up to date, so they can move.
yeah, yeah, yep.
So. Carol's point.
Yeah, yeah,
We got some flexibility, it's not like, you know,
yeah. Well, if it's summer,
but 6 weeks, we can.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not the issue, it's more of the how governance. and
Yeah, where you don't
surplus.
wanna move file cabinets twice and.
my biggest concern is really
yep, yep. Okay, so how do we move forward on getting a better estimate over there for all-inclusive?
Would it, if it's gonna be technically a town initiated project, it's town building, would it, do you have? No?
do RFPs?
Yeah,
RFP?
we would do an we'd have to come up with a scope of work of some sort, and we're gonna need to detail what the interior looks like. And scope it out and put it out for bids. You would find somebody you wanna work with. While you're working through it.
Yeah.
Given the hard deadline that you have for a commitment. What's the result? You may want to just find out this number and
Yeah, yeah,
get it under contract.
Yeah.
A flexible contract.
So you need to put this out to bid.
Needs to move.
so I don't wanna be a jerk, but I just, like, your comment about this being a town initiative, I just wanna make sure it's clear, this is joint.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes.
I just mean, it's a town-owned property, and so I just didn't know, you know, the
But you guys,
initial
didn't you guys,
on
She's
it.
just trying to, I think, defer to your process.
Right, that's
so,
what
so,
I
but
understand.
didn't you guys have people that were looking at it
We
already?
did have Ekman Construction go in.
Okay,
And that's why I said earlier, he looked at it and said that that would not be a scope that their
Got it,
company could.
okay.
could-
yeah.
It's-
And did you,
They
did
built
you-
school
did
additions.
you-
Yeah.
and is there somebody else that you were looking to bring in as well?
I think that one of the gentlemen on the transition committee had a neighbor, but I think that we should,
It's gonna be,
I would
Yeah.
like to formalize it a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah,
more and
okay.
start really driving a timeline.
Okay.
on it.
Sorry, that's right, I didn't mean to be, that's just meant, you know, if you had someone at the town level who would, you know, instead of someone's neighbor coming and giving
Oh,
you
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
ballpark, it doesn't seem,
Cause we have
efficient at this point.
policies and we'd have to really, our policy that we have to put everything out to bid that's over 5,000, so I think that's where you're coming from. Whose umbrella will we follow?
Yeah, if you decide you want it to be a town, then you can't control the building, what we suggest renovating it, then that's on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right, so then school needs to provide you with some details about what we would be scoping out, right?
Kinda like what you told earlier, you need an office space of 150 square feet for this, you
right,
need
like
this, you need
the
this.
Yeah.
offices and.
Yeah,
Or do you think you have enough to just kinda,
no,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking more about what our town staff capabilities. Personally, what do I have the capability to do? This town to do
yep,
in that capacity, I'm not a builder, so I don't wanna take on the GC
sure.
or something that I'm not qualified to do,
Is that something that Dale can help with?
He's on the kitchen, he's part-time. Role for him, but.
Yep. So basically, Chris is saying we need a project manager.
I'm just waiting for help.
No, that's fair.
If I had 8 months to do it, I could say, that's within my depth, and
Yep,
I can
And one of the things we'd have to include is what kind of, service we're gonna need for, bandwidth for
yeah,
our programs and everything, and electricity, so we would need, you know, an electrician or someone who's smarter at that kind
I
of.
think
So-
figure out how to.
back to the project manager, do you have any thoughts on that, Chris?
Like a business office type of, well, the problem is we literally don't have a business.
No, it's a general contractor type role.
Do you RFP the general contractor? Or did I?
Yeah, it's-
I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, it's just these things have a way of, requiring owner's involvement.
Any thoughts?
You know, you can't just hand over the keys to the attorney.
No.
You need an owner's rep to kind of come in and,
Call it an owner's rep or
But-
whatever.
Does Dale have any appetite to increase his hours, or is he happy with the number?
I'll talk about it.
Okay, but that could be an option, if
Yeah.
we can increase his hours.
We got 6 weeks. So,
We're gonna have to do something.
It's already booked.
Yes, but they're gonna want a month to, while they're working, to figure out a plan.
Yep,
And build
yep.
a bid back.
yep, yep.
That's kinda close.
Okay, so as kind of like quick immediate steps, we need to figure out who's the project manager type of person, and you guys need to give us kind of like what your requirements are, so that we can use that for bids.
Obviously, everything's gotta be ADA required.
So when do you think you guys can have that?
Do we have measurements of that space?
No, I don't think we measured
There
it.
would be no where the doors.
I
I mean,
think,
do you need a complete level of detail, like we want it to be laid out aesthetically just like this, or could we say, you know what, we need a conference room, a reception area, a business office,
Ballpark square footage of office.
For that office area, you know what it is. How many internal walls and doors, what size? That level of detail is probably not. You should plan on doing layout with furnishings and
Yeah.
second furniture. Think about a blank slate and furniture. You're gonna want it as
Right.
right, so you don't assign too much to their
Right.
exact specification.
Yeah.
so you're gonna buy big chairs instead of little chairs, is that what you're saying to us?
Do you guys think you can have that early next week?
So we had budgeted 50,000 for the and we've got money in here for furniture, computers, fixtures, and so forth, and our software upgrade, and, the plan that we.
Okay.
And we haven't seen anything to indicate that. And that's at the SAU level. To your point, there may be something.
Right. Yep.
You're just gonna have to get to the point where you make a total dollar commitment,
Yeah.
time for them to send a contract.
Okay.
And then we'll have to defer some of the, how's this gonna work in practice.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
We would hope to have a superintendent on the advance. Not in like 6 weeks. Before July 1st, we have a superintendent.
Yep.
Trying to-
Maybe help us.
Well, the project management is gonna have to start.
The building.
Yeah.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
saying in terms of like when they need answers from us, that person.
We're hoping to have some sort of pressure we can put on our contractors. Officially start July. Assist.
If you guys can think of anybody who could fill that project manager role too, that would be,
When you say that, what, can you just kind of just put a little bit,
Think-
like what you'd be looking for somebody to put
think
together
general,
the.
think
Like
general
Gina.
contractor, think general contractor. Think somebody who you would have build your house for you.
He's a marketing guy.
Somebody look over the shoulder of the builder and ask
Yeah.
picky questions that come up on, on a day-to-day basis. And, make sure that-
Yes, that
Make sure you're getting
concrete
what
gonna
you
hold
contract
that
to.
pole.
Who knows construction?
Yeah,
Yeah, so an owner's rep, basically. and a
Yeah.
rep-
Yeah.
rep,
Yep, yep,
Manage the timeline.
exactly, yep.
Somebody that everybody can talk to and get it. And if, you know, if we slide that person a few bucks.
Yeah.
we have to get that, so.
so besides these specs, then going forward, like us to do, as you guys see, how do you want us involved in that?
How do you have to?
Right. No, I'm just saying, in general, how do you see that working?
Well, I imagine there's a lag between when you get in a contract and when you actually start doing the work. Probably not much until work starts, and those questions start coming up, or those
Yeah.
decisions start.
Yeah.
You know, we use that downtime to work out the
Details.
kind of MOU between you or something.
I was just wondering.
So for now, our deliverable to you would be kind of a requirements, then that'll get called together into, that'll get turned around, and we'll be working. You guys have your timelines toward the end of the year, handle your cash.
I know, I was just like, gets more acronyms in there,
Yeah,
Sue.
if you have anybody internally in your world that has experience with that stuff, I'm happy to, run things like an RFP process.
Yeah.
That could be this project manager, or it could be somebody who's smart about system. What you detail in that would how you up for setting free.
I think we're gonna have to have a conversation.
Okay,
Yep.
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
it was good.
Thank you very
Kinda
much.
got a little
Thank you.
one
framework.
step forward, right?
Yes, one step forward. And if we just don't slide back down the hill, we're okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
review action items for next meeting? Vote. Yes.
What, have you identified anything?
This is gonna be an ongoing thing.
I think it's the right move, though.
Yeah, I do
Sorry?
too.
I think it's the right move.
I do too.
Yep.
Yep. Chris, I think the only thing I recall is that you're gonna put road standards on the agenda for the 20-something or whatever.
Right. We have any other business? Notice that you're here. You haven't, no? Okay.
She had nothing else to do on a Monday night.
You gotta go to Lions Paradise.
There, nothing you wanna bring before the board? Need, okay. All right. All right. So do we have anything for non-public? I said, I believe you mentioned we had some unfinished stuff to take care of.
Yep, yep. So I will make a motion that we go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3, 2A, and C.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I, Donna Danus.
Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Hi, John Moran.
Okay, at which point now we're gonna go into non-public. When we finish our non-public, we'll come out and adjourn the meeting.
Seal the minutes.
Thank you, Nottingham.